So welcome everybody, and thank you for attending our new series, the Insider Series. This is designed to provide you with everything you need to know to start Core 1 in 6 bite-sized episodes. Please note that today's seminar will be recorded. Therefore, I will be addressing all questions at the end of the presentation. However, if you do have any questions that arise during the presentation, feel free to write them in the chat box. I'm also capable of responding to questions in French, donc si vous avez des questions en français, n'hésitez pas. My name is John Thomas, and I'm one of 3 student recruitment advisors with the CPA Atlantic School of Business. Also on the call here today is Kathleen Brown from Nova Scotia and Amy Burridge from Newfoundland and Labrador and Bermuda. So between the 3 of us, I'm sure we can probably answer your questions. So today's episode is PEP fees and payment options, when and how to pay for your studies. So I'm going to go through some options here today. And again, like I said, if you have any questions, please feel free to write them in the chat box. We've muted all the microphones as well. Towards the end, if you do have a question, you can feel free to unmute yourself and ask your question, or just simply write it in the chat box. Okay, diving right on in. So first up, we're going to talk about some of the fees that you can expect to pay and when you should expect to receive the invoices or expect to pay them. First up, we have the module fee. So in this case, for a lot of people here on the call, this will be the module fee for Core 1. We also probably have some people that are a bit further advanced in the professional education program, or PEP. So the Core 1 module fee is $1,525. So immediately upon registering for Core 1, you're going to receive the invoice. Usually it takes anywhere from 1 to 2, 3 business days to process for you to receive. Next up, we have the annual candidate dues, the annual student dues, as well as the one-time PEP licensing fee. These fees are $675 and $790. So if a candidate submits their registration more than 2 months in advance, so for example, if you register for Core 1 in April, as an example, you're not likely going to receive your invoice for the annual candidate dues or the one-time PEP licensing fees until about probably 2 months prior to the start of Core 1. However, if you would like to have your invoice before this date, I know we're beyond this date right now, you just simply reach out to your student recruitment advisor and we can make this happen. So just to give you an idea of how these fees kind of work is you can expect to receive them, like I said, anywhere from 2 months out, and the deadline to pay them is usually about 2 weeks prior to the course start date. Here are the other module fees for the CPA professional education program. So first up, Core 1, this is $1,525. All the other modules are $1,275, as you can see here. If you are an advanced standing candidate and you are just going to challenge certain exams, the challenge exam fee is $400. Or if you're just advanced standing right to the common final exam, that is $1,500 that you must pay. The payment deadline for all of these fees is 2 weeks prior to the course start date. So in some emergency situations, we can process some fees up to the course start date. However, I'd like to say that this is strongly discouraged, mainly because of the work that's involved processing these fees from the CPA Atlantic School of Business administrative staff, and also just because there's also some work that's involved by the students leading up to the orientation workshops for the modules. So usually we say 2 weeks prior to the course start date to make sure that you don't have any confusion associated with getting started, with receiving access to your online learning materials, anything like this. So if you've already registered, try to get those payment fees done immediately. I've included the course calendar here to give you an idea of some of the course start dates and when you should expect to make these payments. So as you can see here, Core 1 is beginning on October 17th. The registration deadline is September 18th. So make sure, if you are interested, make sure at least you register for that deadline, because otherwise you're just going to have to roll over into the winter semester of 2021 if you don't meet that deadline. The payment deadline, if you count back 2 weeks from October 17th, is approximately Friday, October 2nd. So just make sure you have your payments submitted before October 2nd to ensure, like I said, that you receive access to your course materials. Now we're going to talk about some financing options. So a lot of people tend to be working simultaneously, fulfilling their obligations as a part of the practical experience. So oftentimes, if you're working full-time, you can have your employer finance your studies. Please note that this is not a requirement. You can complete the 6 modules and the common final exam prior to completing your practical experience. You can do them simultaneously, but never the practical experience before the professional education program, just so everyone's aware of that. So if you do have an employer, you do have some financing options there. So depending on your situation with your employer, they may have a full sponsorship, which means they pay 100% of your studies. They may do a tuition reimbursement format. And also, if you currently don't have a job, you can use the fact that you're currently a CPA candidate in the program to look for jobs. It's definitely going to help you with your employment opportunities. The CPA, Atlantic School of Business, as well as provincial bodies, all have job banks on their website, so you can access that. You can also add the fact that you're a CPA candidate to your CV. You can add it to your LinkedIn, and it's going to help you in your employment security in that fulfilling the financing options of that. So the notes that I have up here as well, PPR and EBR, those are just 2 ways in which you can complete your practical experience. It stands for pre-approved program route and the experience verification route. So depending on which route you're in for your practical experience, they all have financing options for with your employer. You also have the opportunity of higher ed points. So this is kind of similar to loyalty points that you accumulate, such as Aeroplan, Air Miles, things like that. With the higher ed points, you can actually redeem those loyalty points for, instead of flights or merchandise, you can redeem them for higher ed credit. So the idea is that you first convert it to cash, these points, and then you can apply that cash to your student account. So there's more information on our website about this if this is an option that you're considering. Scotiabank personal line of credit for students. So most financial institutions will have some sort of line of credit for those pursuing higher education. Also, if you're a newcomer to Canada or Atlantic Canada, you can take advantage of the Atlantic Immigrant Career Loan Fund. This basically is finances that are dedicated to new arrivals to Canada that may have some financial barriers to pursuing their career objectives. So you can just go search for Atlantic Immigrant Career Loan Fund on Google or whatnot, and you find out more information about that there. Now we're going to move into actual payment options. So how you're going to pay for we've talked about financing your studies. Now we're going to talk about how you're going to pay for your studies. First up, we have wire transfer, or EFT, or electronic funds transfer. This is kind of a simple payment option most people have through their banks. The difference between the two is that wire transfer is usually available the next business days, whereas an electronic funds transfer may take 1 to 3 business days to be received by the CPA Atlantic School of Business. Second up is Plastique. Plastique is a payment method that you can use your MasterCard, Visa, American Express, debit, prepaid credit cards, or gift cards to pay for your studies. I just want to highlight that it takes approximately 3 to 5 business days to process any payments made via plastique, and a service fee is usually applied, usually 2.5% for credit cards and 1% for debit cards. For our international applicants, this is a method in which you can pay for your studies anywhere around the world. So this is called Flywire. So you can pay pay online from any bank around the world, and oftentimes you can pay even in the currency of your home country. So the same, or not the same, but similar application payment fees apply for Flywire as well. All of this information is on our website. So if you look under, look for the payment options tab, I think it's under the practical experience. So you can find all this information there. We're going to be sending this video out to everyone afterwards as well. So there will be some links that might be able to help you there as well. So what next? So be sure to apply for Core 1, which starts on October 17th. As I've said earlier, if you want to count back 4 to 6 weeks to make sure that your application is processed, please be sure to apply by August 1st at the latest, especially if you're an international applicant, because your application process takes approximately 6 to 8 weeks to complete. So just make sure you get your application in as soon as possible. You can also attend the Insider Series episode 5, which is going to take place on August 25th. This episode will address program delivery during COVID and what that will look like. You can also register for our Lunch with a CPA taking place on August 19th. This is a really great way to have a Q&A with a recent CPA graduate. So someone that's been through the program, they know the ins and outs of the program. They can talk to you about how the CPA has impacted their career, what exactly they're doing right now, and kind of how they experience the program while they're in it. So this is an excellent resource to have answered all of those questions that you may have about the program itself. The student recruitment advisors are available at any time for a phone call, email, or virtual meeting. So if you do have any questions following this episode today, feel free to reach out to your student recruitment advisor. So in Nova Scotia and any international inquiries, you can contact Kathleen Brown. In Prince Edward Island, New Brunswick, and any French inquiries, you can contact me. And in Newfoundland and Labrador and Bermuda, you can contact Amy Burridge.